and welcome to Dawn English with the ECP ruling and with the ruling that says that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is found guilty of foreign funding. We have with us Advocate of the Supreme Court, Ahmad Hassan Shah. Ahmad Hassan has been the counsel from Akbar S Babar side, the petitioner for the foreign funding case against the PTI. Thank you so much for joining us, Ahmad Hassan Shah. We need to know, how do you feel? You really worked tirelessly for more than 8 years on this case. And if I'm not mistaken, you started from day one.
Thank you, Nadia, for asking me over on your program. Yes, it has been some time. It's been a 8-year-long struggle. But in fact, the struggle has been for Akbar Babar. As counsel, I have just been there to attend to the case and argue the case when the time came, and assist the scrutiny committee with a review of certain documents. But it's been a long time. It's not only just one case, this which has taken these 8 years. As you know, there have been at least 10 or 11 collateral litigations before the High Court.
Yes.
So this is not just one decision that has come out in 8 years. This is the 11th or 12th decision that has come out. This phase at least is over.
Okay, so your initial comments on the ruling that has been given by ECP, because I was just going through what Fawad Chaudhry, the leader for PTI, was saying, that, you know, they couldn't find anything. It is basically, Election Commission has not found any foreign funding. It is only people who are overseas Pakistanis that have funded the PTI, and we stand by this. And whatever they have said is on some technical grounds. Please correct this and please let us know what exactly ECP has said.
I have absolutely no idea which order Chaudhry Saab is reading, but the order that I read and is before me says the following. Number one, it finds as a matter of fact that there has been receipt of funds from prohibited sources into the party accounts.
Okay.
These funds that have been received are of two kinds. They have been received from sources that comprise of individuals who are not citizens of Pakistan.
Okay.
I believe the number is 34 that has been identified in the order, and this includes about 351 entities or businesses, which include local as well as foreign businesses that have funded the party. A very categoric fact-finding statement has been made to this effect. So now, at least two different occasions or parts of the order specifically identify the transactions which have come from nationals of other countries.
Okay.
And as you know, funding by a national of another country is prohibited, and that is part of the definition of a foreign aided party. Now, you will recall we had occasion to talk about this case earlier when you asked me over once, and I was very categoric in my position to you, and I said that it is clear to me as a lawyer that it is not within the Election Commission's remit to declare a party or ban a party. That is the remit of the federal government, and then the Supreme Court gets involved in this, because this is not an ordinary matter. Now, we never argued for banning the party in this case because that was not a relief that the Election Commission can grant. But what interestingly has happened in this case is that this fact-finding statement that has been made includes references to certain transactions which can now, or which have basically put the ball in the federal government's court to determine whether or not a case can be made out on the basis whether it has been actually been funded by people who were foreign nationals, and has now taken a color of a matter which can be taken cognizance of on that side of the fence.
Okay, all right.
So the other important thing that I must highlight to you, which is definitely in the copy of the order that I read, it has identified that a large number of bank accounts that the party disowned were in fact bank accounts that have been not only opened under authority, but have been operated by senior office bearers within the party. Presidents of, this province and that province, and general secretaries, and people who have had eminent position. And these, interestingly, the accounts that have been disowned by the party include accounts that have been operated by the party chairman himself. So this makes it very interesting. Now, and while doing this, the order.
Okay. This came out of the scrutiny
Allow me
committee.
to just finish.
Okay.
At this point, what this order then says in this context is that it says that if the party doesn't acknowledge these accounts,
Right.
then these are Benami accounts. Who are the people who are doing this? So this actually raises a new dimension altogether.
So tell me one thing, Advocate Ahmed, that these bank accounts that PTI disowned and are in the name of representatives from within the PTI and senior members, just to name a few, like Imran Ismail, Mahmoud Rashid, Najib Haroon, and many other. I'm just forgetting the names, but there are many. And those.
What I can read.
Asad, yes, Asad Kaisar, all of these. So tell me one thing, isn't ECP supposed to find out about these accounts, or do you say that it's now the ball is in federal court, federal government's court, and federal government is supposed to now find out about these accounts that are termed as beta?
No, I didn't say that. The federal government is only responsible to consider the issue whether a political party is a foreign aided party. If on the basis of finding of facts in this order, the federal government comes to the conclusion that yes, this party has been funded by people who are foreign nationals, and the nature of the funding is such that it renders the party a foreign aid party, then only the federal government will get activated, and then it has to reach out to the Supreme Court to get a final decision on whether or not there is going to be a ban on the party. That is what is the role of the federal government. Now, the question that you now raise on the account side is altogether different to my understanding. Here the question is, there are senior office bearers of the party who have been operating bank accounts in the name of the party, but the party has disowned those accounts. Now the party has in fact accused its own leadership of opening accounts that it should not have in the first place, or dealing with funds on behalf of the party that they should not have done. So this raises not only questions of accounting for the source of its funds, it raises serious questions about the credibility and integrity of these respectable people.
Right.
So the party has in fact raised issues of integrity on its own leadership. This is very strange. Now, when this happens, now this is why I believe that the Election Commission in this unanimous order, another point that I have not noticed people highlight is that this is a unanimous decision. It is not one person. This is 3 members of the commission who have passed a unanimous order. Now, that order, that is why it says to my mind that the commission has said that the copy be provided to relevant people, agencies of the government, including the federal government and officers of the commission, to start proceedings against those who have been found to have done something which is against the law. Now, if the commission comes to the conclusion that these people are liable to be proceeded against, then the commission may invoke whatever procedures that are to be invoked against these people as well. So this, if you ask my personal opinion, this order has gone into the substantial detail. It identifies specific transactions. It does not talk about general things. It is very matter of fact, and it identifies who has done what. Now, all that for example, this Benami aspect that I identified to you, the Election Commission of Pakistan is not an agency of the state which is going to prosecute people for Benami matters. You and I know that for Benami transactions are to be taken a note of and proceeded by other agencies of the state.
Exactly, like FBR needs to find out, and a lot of other, the FIA, all need to be now into. Now, so tell me one thing, when Akbar S Babar now says that now the party chairman should just step down, what could the federal government, in your opinion, now do with this ruling? I do understand, that
like I said, federal government has a limited role to play. It will only proceed if it determines or if it is of the opinion that whatever is contained in this order is sufficient to render the party liable to proceedings for being a foreign aided party. Nothing else. Now, there are certain agencies of the federal government, for example, like I mentioned, the Benami, or for example, there is an issue of how monies came from country aid to Pakistan, whether they came through proper banking channels or they did not. So those are other agencies. You and I know, and everybody knows that when it comes to issues like Benami or money laundering or other financial related crimes, there are 3-4 agencies of this Pakistan that have jurisdiction to look into those matters. The State Bank is one, the FBR is another, MAB is another, and
FIA.
FIA is another. So it depends what area and who all this order is sent to, who all takes note of whatever offenses are in this order. And then it is for each of the arms of the government to proceed in accordance with the mandate that the law gives them.
So does the law gives the mandate of going for a disqualification for the chairman of the party?
It is now become a real possibility, because in this order, at least I think on more than 4 occasions, there have been identification of certain actions that the party chairman has taken, which they say are not only against the laws of Pakistan, they are against the laws of countries where those activities have taken place, including the US, Canada, and the UAE, and Britain for that matter. This has actually taken a very serious turn on these points, and now let's see whosoever is in charge does what.
We see opponents. I know this is a political question, but it does have a legal side to it too, because you have been, fighting this case within the Election Commission of Pakistan on Akbar S Babar's side. The opponents of Imran Khan have been saying that this party is funded through Israel. It is funded through Indians. It is funded through the Americans. And this is the lobby that is functioning. In all the concealment of accounts or the individuals or the foreign funding that has been found, does it include India? Does it include Israel? Or what countries do you see the individuals? Yeah.
I have had a quick look at the order. I could only identify one name of an Indian national, an identification of one Indian national. I will have to look at, there are a few other names, but I don't recall if nationalities is attached to those names, but I'll have to check. But for sure, I have seen one name that an Indian nationality and origin is attributed to that name.
So, Ahmad Hassan Shah Sahab, shall we, so your work now is over. Is there anything else that Akbar S Babar can do regarding this case, or this is it that he wanted to do?
You are absolutely right. My case, my role is over, because I was tasked to represent him before the Election Commission and some other 10 petitions that went on to the High Court from all emanating from this case. All of them are now concluded. So unless until Akbar Babar wants me to do something else, I am pretty much done with it now. But you have asked a very important question, because this order opens up a lot of issues.
Right.
There are actions that the federal government can take. There are actions that prosecuting agencies can take. And obviously there are actions that political parties can take. So let's see how this unfolds. I have not yet had occasion to discuss with Akbar Babar as to what legal remedies he seeks to pursue down the road. Once we have had that discussion, and once he allows me to engage with you on the prospects of what he wishes to pursue, right, I will be happy to share those.
There are two kind of arguments that are in place, and we saw this on social media as well as within the political parties, Imran Khan's party, as well as those who I would say are supporters and loyalists of PTI. They say, so what if there has been foreign funding? You still have to prove, and there are many senior lawyers saying that Imran Khan may not be disqualified on what the ECP has done. So answer that first. And number two, there is another thing that people are saying, that ECP should have done something more to it. Just a mere show cause means nothing.
Yes, I have heard these comments. let me answer the second one first.
Okay.
The requirement of the law is that if the Election Commission comes to the conclusion that a political party has in fact received funds prohibited under law, then it will be served a show cause notice. Now, just because we spent 8 years does not make this particular requirement of law irrelevant. The law was, in my view, on 1st April 2015, the Election Commission made this determination that the accounts have not been accounted for as required by law. But then multiple litigations, protracted proceedings before the scrutiny committee, according to Akbar Babar, unsatisfactory pace of progress before the scrutiny committee, all this culminated into an 8-year time period. But even if after 3 months, this is what was supposed to happen, because the Election Commission only had to do one thing first: find the fact.
Okay.
Be satisfied that yes, the monies from prohibited sources have come in. It is regrettable that it took 8 years. It could have taken 8 days for that matter. But now that they have made that finding, the consequence, the legal consequence is that you have to tell the party that we have made this finding of fact. Now you tell me, why should we not confiscate? So this is a legal requirement that we can't do away. Or had they not done it this way, in my view, this decision would have been out of the park in 2 minutes. No court would have upheld this kind of an assessment. Now, the first question. You know that this is a case of its own kind. This is the first case where somebody sought to put some order and sense into the political parties and the way they raise funds and do so many things that they do. So
even to the ECP, Ahmed, even to the ECP. Do you remember we spoke earlier that for you to tell the ECP this is your mandate?
Yes, it took us several months to convince the ECP that this is well within their jurisdiction. And I'm very happy to note that our position was vindicated collaterally, because in the Hanif Abbasi case before the Supreme Court came up categoric and said, well, the Election Commission is all and its remit is all encompassing and they ought to do this. So this was a great victory for regulatory strengthening of the Election Commission. This credit must go to Akbar Babar. Now, the second thing is, just like that, now this is a case of first impression, first time it has happened that a leader of a political party who is required to submit a declaration stating that he certifies that I have not received any funds from prohibited sources. Now that statement, that certification, that declaration, whatever you want to call it, that has been made repeatedly, and now it turns out that it was false. So what should happen now? Should we be running about going to a civil court, trying to fight it out there? Should we go to the High Court and struggle there? Should we go to the Supreme Court? Should we go to the Election Commission? All these options are open, and one needs to consider these options. But my sense is that empowerment of the Election Commission means that when someone goes to the Election Commission and falsely files something which is false, common sense would warrant that that agency should have the power to take notice of this false filing.
Yes.
Either by taking notice, it could do. Now I'm having an academic discussion with you. This is not my legal opinion. We are confronted with this question for the first time. Now, possibly that agency could do two things. It could take notice of this thing, and if it thinks that this pertains to some other agency to pursue, it can refer it to that. Or if it feels that I have the power under the law to take cognizance of this matter and proceed in accordance with law, it will do so. So now I think all legal minds will get together and start thinking about these options. I recall very
here Election Commission did not have this power, right? Like falsely submitting a document, it just says in the order that this was falsely submitted, right?
You see, in fact, like 1st April order of 2015 categorically notes that the party has not complied with the requirement to declare and disclose the source of funds. So now taking it from there, one could well argue that the Election Commission is empowered to proceed on its own. But like I said, this now legal minds will come up with arguments and present their perspectives, and let's see where it goes. I distinctly recall the day that I first filed this case. Stalwarts of the legal profession came on television and say, well, oh, Election Commission does not have this power. And look where we are now. It has that power. So who knows what happens down the road?
Okay, so what is Article 17 that everybody's talking about for the benefit of the viewers?
Article 17 is the foundational article which gives the fundamental right to the people of Pakistan to organize themselves as political parties. Now, this right is accompanied by a condition. This condition is listed in Article 17(3), which says that once you have formed a political party, the political party shall account for the source of its funds. So every party is bound. And why is it so? Because out of the 200 plus countries that are in the world, Pakistan belongs to that set of 70, 80 or 100 countries which have decided as a policy doctrine that political activities in their country will not permit outsiders to influence or get involved. That is why building upon the laws, in 2002, the law was put in place, which categorically said that you must be an individual citizen of Pakistan in order to become a member of a political party, in order to associate with the Pakistan political party, in order to contribute with a political party, in order to hold office in a political party, and things like that. And you cannot contribute and donate to a political party in Pakistan if you are not a Pakistan citizen. Now, this is what the law was since 2002. In 2017, when the Election Act came in, there were certain, because of expat Pakistanis, there were certain allowances made. Right. But this case does not deal with the 2017 regime. We are in the 2002 regime. And that is very categorical.
And so all these accounts that were being dealt with or talked about in this case are till the year 2000?
From the period is July 2008
to 14?
To June 2013, I believe.
And what happens after that? What happens to the funding?
This is the scope of the TORs that relate to Akbar Babar's complaint. Now, based on what has been reported in the media, I understand that subsequent years have also been challenged by other parties. You see, what happened was that what Akbar Babar's case did was that it encouraged other political parties to go after each other. So PTI filed complaints, or PTI responsible representatives filed complaints against other parties filed complaints against PTI. So there's a hodgepodge. Now everybody is into this. But this is a direction for all political parties to put their house in order.
Yes, and be transparent in their funding.
Yes, and we keep on emphasizing in Pakistani politics that we must account for the source of our income and all. So now the political party must do that as well. It has been there ever since 1973.
Okay, tell me one thing. When PTI is saying we are going to go to the courts and we're going to challenge this, can they challenge a show cause notice?
Well, in my view, they could not have challenged the 8-10 times that they did, in fact, before. So nobody stops anyone in this country from going to court. The question is, what happens once you've been to the court? Now, empirical evidence suggests that in the Akbar Babar case, all the times, except the first time when the case was remanded, all the other 9-10 times, Akbar Babar was vindicated. Now, let's see what happens when they go and challenge this order. Now the general law is that show cause notices are not to be interfered with, because show cause is basically an opportunity to you to come and explain that why this should not be done. But,
is there still a need to explain after 8 years?
Well, this is how the legal system is. Tough luck. What if it was 8 days? It was still, I know it is very disappointing for many that it has taken 8 years, but that's how it is. Haven't you heard of cases that go on from the
I know,
grandfather to the grandson?
but
This happens.
these, cases of this kind for all political parties, not just PTI. I mean, I would say this is historic because yes, it has now started the discussion, and also the Election Commission of Pakistan to be more vigilant about political parties that are registered under its rules, that they need to see their funding. They need to probably, get their act together, get the technical support in order to do the forensic for the funding.
You are absolutely right. As a lawyer in this case, I have never expressed a personal opinion until today, because I've always been commenting on the basis of what the instructions of my client were. Now, and they were very simple, as I've been telling. But now I want to talk about my personal view is that if you look as a Pakistani citizen, this case has come a long way. This imposes an obligation on our representatives to be more responsible in their conduct, particularly when they are acting in our representative capacity.
Absolutely.
So yes, as a citizen of Pakistan, I feel happy that there is a greater measure of responsibility that our reps would be forced to comply with, which is good for you, which is good for me. Now, what happens in the legal system of Pakistan, we will all see. We have seen some cases that are done very expeditiously. Some cases take longer than they should. So we will see how parties respond to this. And I sincerely hope, as a citizen of this country, that instead of locking horns on issues of personal benefit, we would have a more wider collective approach to improving the environment that there is. And I hope that things go in the right direction, because you and I remain committed to what dream this Pakistan is.
All right. So
you are here and I am here.
So Advocate Ahmad Shah Saab, tell us, what is the amount, because the amount is coming in bits and pieces that actually falls into
I will exactly give you the numbers. If I recall on the top of my head, it's about $5.1 million US dollars that are from prohibited sources.
Right.
Then there is an amount of 220 million Pakistan rupees.
Okay.
Which is from prohibited sources.
Right.
And then there is an amount of about 790,000 pounds sterlings. If you were to convert them all into Pakistani rupees, they would go into tens of crores of rupees, a number closer to 80 crores, if I am not mistaken.
There was something about the Australian
applying the old exchange rate, not the current one.
Okay, I'm talking about, and what about the Australian dollars? Even I heard there was some funding from Australia. Does this also include
there are funds that have been identified from Singapore. There are funds that have been identified from Canada. And there are funds that have been identified from other jurisdictions also.
All right. Okay. So we're talking about 5.1 million US dollars, 220 million Pak rupees, and 790 pounds sterlings.
Correct.
Right. So what happens to this money? Is PTI supposed to give? Yes, under the law.
Under law, it is liable to be confiscated in favor of the state.
Okay. And if that was the plea for Akbar S Babar, the last plea that you
yes,
had?
That was the plea. The plea was simple. The plea was, please find, as a matter of fact, whether funds have been received from prohibited sources, find out to what extent, what is the quantum, and if you are satisfied that the monies that have come in from prohibited sources, then please proceed to confiscate them in the favor of the state as is required by the law.
It was never to take away the party symbol.
No.
It's never that.
Akbar Babar has consistently maintained and consistently instructed us to argue on this core question.
Okay. All
He
right.
says and that he is, and there are decisions, including by the High Court at Islamabad, that he continues to be a member of the party.
Yes, he
And the
says that.
law is that unless and until, in fact, the law is that Nadia, if you ever join a political party, unless and until the party removes you from membership,
You're
or
still part of the party, right?
you join another political party, then ipso facto, by your joining another political party, you cease to be member of the previous one.
Right.
So he says that I have never joined. I am PTI. He says he's a founder member. He says, and I have seen that probably the first constitution of the party bore his name as well. So he has this affinity with the party, and there is no reason for us to believe that he is not uh, associating himself with the party anymore. He is.
Okay, so we have last two questions. I'd come back to those, bank accounts that the party representatives, the party says, and the party disowns those accounts, although they are opened in the name of party representatives and senior representatives. Were they ever called by the Election Commission of Pakistan?
No, I, as counsel to Akbar, have been requesting time and again that those individuals who have been operating these accounts and all not should also be brought in, including the employees who were authorized to receive funds collected by the party. But this was not granted, and the Election Commission has proceeded to determine this question on the basis of record that has been supplied to it by the State Bank of Pakistan.
Okay, so now towards the last 3 minutes that are left, very quickly, I would want you to tell our viewers what was the journey like all these 8 years. I know that it was very topsy-turvy. I know you had to really request a lot of young lawyers to be a part of the council on matters because they were support.
This was Dekinji, this is certainly not an individual's enterprise, but the credit goes to Akbar Babar for remaining steadfast and being there on every hearing. If he had not pushed it, we would not have come to this date. Yes, and this is our training. This is how I was taught by my seniors. Incidentally, my senior was also one of the founding members of the party. Really? So I have been taught this from day one, that when you take a case, you have to pursue it diligently. So all I did was, no, I'm talking about Dr. Parvez Hassan.
Oh, okay.
So I owe a lot to him. He has been my mentor. He's been my senior. I owe a lot to him. But all I did was, I was there at every hearing that I was supposed to be. And when I was called to comment or assist or explain, I was there to do that. So this is what all I did. But Akbar Babar pursued it. My colleagues pursued it. Badr Iqbal Chaudhary in particular, my associate senior, he was amazing. It could not have been done. And then I am not a finance guy. So Akbar Babar hired two people with the permission of the Election Commission. Arsalan Vardak was a financial chartered accountant, I believe.
He go through those accounts.
Yes, all the details. Because lawyers don't advise on finances.
Right. So how many, now I can understand that. How many hours were given to Akbar S Babar to actually go through those bank account details?
About 55 hours.
55 hours are nothing to go through that, huh?
But I must say the accountants did a tremendous job. They did a 24/7 effort, and they came up with a very, very coherent and incisive report. And
so no copy was allowed. No copy was allowed to be taken of those details. No picture snaps. No, they were not allowed to do that.
No phones, no computers. In this time and age, we were not allowed to have access to anything.
If everything was so transparent, why was it not allowed?
Well, this is a matter of the past. We've been through this bridge, so it's behind us. It was tough, but they did it. They did a tremendous job. And had it not been the precision and detail that these people, with the precision and detail that these people went into scrutiny of these documents, it would never have compelled the Election Commission to come up with such a specific order, because in my personal view, now I'm giving you my personal view, the scrutiny committee was more than lax.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Advocate Ahmad Shah Sahab, for joining us. I do understand that today the entire media must be wanting to talk to you, and of course, all your legal fraternity must be wanting to talk to you.
Yeah, I have been very camera shy, trying not to. I would always tell Akbar Babar that is his job. My job is to argue the case. But now that the case is concluded, I think I should have my 2 minutes of the media as well.
Thank you so much, Shah Sahab, for being on Dawn English. That's all
You're
for
welcome.
now.
Always a pleasure. You take care of yourself. Thank
You
you.
too. Take care. Bye.